A Reagan-appointed federal judge has absolutely ripped President Donald Trump and the Trump administration to shreds after their crackdown on pro-Palestinian protesters on college campuses. Now, this is again a Reagan-appointed judge, meaning a previous Republican president appointed this individual, and this judge did not mince words, so buckle up. Now, the case centers on efforts by the State Department and the Department of Homeland Security to deport pro-Palestinian non-citizens who have protested against the genocide currently taking place in the Gaza Strip. These include individuals like Mahmoud Khalil and Rumiesa Ozturk, who of course was the PhD student at Tufts, who just happened to co-write a article in the student paper that I guess pro-Israel individuals didn't like. And so they called on the Trump administration to target her. And soon after that, you have these masked DHS officials just taking her off the streets, arresting her. Now, in the scathing 161-page decision, federal judge William G. Young ruled that the administration has indeed unlawfully chilled the protected political speech of university professors and of students. So let me give you the details on what he had to say. Young lambasted Trump and his administration for attacking free speech under the cover of an unconstitutionally broad definition of anti-Semitism used in efforts to deport non-citizen activists. And in the case of Ozturk and of Mahmoud Khalil, we're talking about individuals who are here as students, either with a green card or a student visa. Now, he argued, meaning the judge argued, that Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, and Kristi Noem, head of DHS, and their subordinates acted in concert to misuse the sweeping powers of their respective offices to target non-citizen pro-Palestinians for deportation primarily on account of their First Amendment protected political speech. And he also hammered on the fact that non-citizens do, and guys, please remember this, this is important. There's so many Americans who are just unaware of it. If you are in the United States, even if you are not a citizen, let's say you have a visa or a green card, you are still protected by the same constitutional rights, including the right to free speech. So he said that the administration's goal, well, he ruled that the First Amendment could not draw on the Trump administration's invidious distinction between citizens and non-citizens, which the judge said is not to be found in our history or jurisprudence, a word that is difficult to say, but I think I nailed it there. Now, a few other things I want to just quickly mention before I go to you, Cenk. Now, he said that the administration's goal was to silence pro-Palestinian protesters by terrorizing them. He writes that they did so in order to strike fear into similarly situated non-citizen pro-Palestinian individuals, proactively and effectively curbing lawful pro-Palestinian speech and intentionally denying such individuals, including the plaintiffs here, the freedom of speech that is their right. And what's especially unusual about Young's ruling is the fact that he dedicated more than a dozen pages to specifically addressing President Donald Trump's disrespect for the United States Constitution. It's incredible. Trump's conduct, the judge wrote, violated the sacred oath of a president to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, and the actions of his administration represented a full-throated assault on the First Amendment. I fear President Trump believes the American people are so divided that today they will not stand up, fight for, and defend our most precious constitutional values so long as they are lulled into thinking their own personal interests are not affected. Is he correct? And that's a question that I've been thinking about quite a bit, certainly well before this ruling, Cenk. Are the partisan divides in this country so devastating? Are we so divided that as long as your preferred party is violating the constitutional rights of your political opponents, you're just gonna let it slide? And if you do let it slide, somewhere down the line, there will be consequences for you as well. So just something to think about.
Yeah, literally what I wrote on social media today. So the most important issue here has nothing to do with Israel. It has to do with the First Amendment. So we're gonna come back to that. First, why were these guys arrested? There's a lot of misinformation out there. A lot of people think, well, if they did violence. I know, yes, if they did violence, they would have been arrested for assault. They were not arrested for assault. They did not do any violence, nor is violence even charged. Like even the Trump administration is not saying that they did violence. Literally, no one is saying they did violence. They're saying that they said things that were anti-Semitic. Okay, let's pause there. Saying things that are anti-Semitic is perfectly legal in America. It might not be good, it's terrible. I don't want you to say those things that are anti-Semitic. Now in this case, did they say things that are anti-Semitic? We'll get to that in a second. But even if they did, like there are folks online who say things that are anti-Semitic all the time. Anti-Muslim, are you kidding me? Right, millions of comments. Anti-Christian, anti-American, all of that is legal in America. Why? Because of our First Amendment. It's the most precious right we have, the freedom of speech. And the freedom of speech does not protect popular speech. That's easy, you don't need to protect it. It protects unpopular speech. It protects all speech, but the point is to protect dissent, unpopular speech, unpopular opinions, etc., because we don't know who's right. And the more we talk and the more we have freedom, we sort that out. So this is a Reagan-appointed judge, obviously comes from the right? Now he criticizes Trump a lot. If you catch feelings over that, well, there's nothing I could do to help you, brother. Okay, I know people caught feelings about our Biden criticism, but what I've read of what the judge wrote about Trump, it was aggressive but correct. He's not criticizing him because he's Trump. He's criticizing specifically for things that are honestly un-American, taking away First Amendment rights to please a foreign government. I don't care if Biden or Trump does that. That's nuts, right? And he talks about the mass. Now, look, it's not pertinent to this case, I don't think, okay? But it is pertinent to the environment of oppression that is being set up. You're not allowed to say this about Israel. You're not allowed to say about it. By the way, we're now surveilling you. And for all the protesters, we're getting scans of your faces. And we don't care if you're on the left or the right. We don't care if you're Jewish or Muslim or Christian. It doesn't matter. We're surveilling all of you. And if you step an inch outside the line and criticize Israel, that's it, you're arrested. One of them wrote an op-ed. So now to Anna's point and the critical point in this case, if you don't know, there's 200 years of Supreme Court jurisprudence on this issue, saying that they have ruled again and again and again that First Amendment rights are for everyone in America, citizen or not citizen. Now you could say, hey, you know what, I don't like that. I don't like that the Constitution makes it available to non-citizens. Okay, that's fine, but take it up with the Constitution, it does. So now non-citizens have other things that they don't have a right to. For example, they don't have a right to vote. So that's unacceptable. But do they have a right to the First Amendment? Yes, the Constitution says they do. And so guys, this is maybe the most critical part. If you take away their rights, you take away our rights. Don't take away any rights to please a foreign government. So now they say, well, this isn't about a foreign government. They have offended Jewish people in America.
Please.
First of all, they didn't. They had said nothing about Jews, literally nothing. They said Israel should be boycotted because that government is committing a genocide, killed 20,000 kids, et cetera, right? So factually, totally incorrect to say that they said something anti-Semitic. And when you challenge folks on it, they're like, they can't find anything that any of these defendants have said about Jewish people. All they say is, well, they had the temerity to criticize beloved Israel. Who cares? Who cares? We're allowed to criticize foreign governments. We're allowed to criticize our own government. So if you take away their rights, you take away our rights, and now we're serving a different government for no goddamn reason. So this decision is 100% correct, 100% needed. Thank God, and Anna's absolutely right. Be careful what you wish for. If you say, well, because Trump's doing it and I like Trump, or because Israel, we're doing it on behalf of Israel and I think Israel should be first and second and third and fourth and eighth, and I love Israel, so if you cross them, that's it, take away rights. Well, you lost your rights. Then what's gonna happen when somebody else gets into office, whether they're a Democrat or maybe someone who hates Israel, and goes, now, if you say positive things about Israel, that's it, you're under arrest. And if you, oh my God, it's camps, they're putting us in camps. That's what you're doing right now. Just if you criticize Israel. So this is, look, Anna, when this case started, I think that a lot of Trump voters were, like, well, Trump's doing it, so this feels a little weird, but I don't know all the facts, and they probably did violence, etc. Now, when this ruling comes in, the Trump base is way more divided, and a lot of them have realized, oh, they're trying to put an asterisk on the First Amendment that you're allowed to say anything you want unless it's about Israel.
Well, I mean, we've seen that play out. And I think a good example of that is what occurred during the mass protests following the murder of George Floyd, remember that happened initially under Donald Trump's watch. And so I'm glad that he didn't, I mean, I know that he had thoughts about calling for martial law to end the protest, but he didn't in the end. He didn't do that. And the protests went on. But when you have protests in regard to the conduct and behavior of a foreign country, well, it's interesting how rapidly the Trump administration tried to shut that down. And so it's just something to keep in mind, because I think one of the most important, protections we have here in the borders of the United States is the ability to freely express how we feel about the conduct of our own government and the conduct of a foreign government. And just to kind of bolster the point that the nefarious forces behind encouraging our government to violate the free speech rights of these students was in fact Israel. This whole peace deal negotiation that we've been hearing about between Trump and Netanyahu has called for Arab leadership and governance in the Gaza Strip, which would be great. Some have floated the idea of a reformed Palestinian Authority, essentially governing the Gaza Strip, but Netanyahu responded to that, Cenk, by giving a speech and saying that the reforms must absolutely include the PA no longer criticizing Israel.
I mean, guys, think about it, right? Jesus Christ. Now should be illegal in some form or shape or form for the Palestinians to criticize their own occupation. Before it was like, no, you have no right to self-defense. Only Israel has a right to self-defense. And the right to self-defense includes invading other countries and taking their land. Somehow that's self-defense, right? But the Palestinians have no right to self-defense. You pick up even a rock, we will murder you on the spot. We don't care if you're 16 years old, 4 years old, we don't care. That's it, no right to self-defense at all. Now, you don't even have a right to criticize. That's it, you have to bow your head to your overlords.
I just wanted to really drive home the point that the Israeli government is so utterly thin-skinned and sensitive to any criticism. I mean, they go around smearing people as anti-Semites. They've got their IDF soldiers threatening people, sending photos of the weapons, implying that they're gonna get killed for criticizing a foreign government. It's crazy, but that's what I think is like really the motivating factor behind what the Trump administration had been doing to these protesters and to these students.